very faintly, as though he was in on a private joke, as though he knew her, although they'd only just met and never spoke after that first introduction. Then there was the fact that he was the sort of man no woman with blood in her veins would ever forget once she'd seen him. His face, shadowed intriguingly now, rather embossed itself on one's memory. So few men actually caused a sharp intake of breath. Judging from his reputation, he took full advantage of this. None of this mattered to Tommy. He hadn't a title and he was a rake, and everyone knew she had rules about these things. Ironically, however, he'd said the only thing that truly interested her all afternoon. She'd overheard it.
"Well, if it isn't the celebrated Miss Thomasina de Ballesteros, what could possibly bring you to—"
He peered into the window.
"A crouching position outside the window of a powerful married duke?"
His voice was very quiet, very baritone, and intolerably amused. "It's not what you think, Mr. Redmond," she managed with icy elegance, or as much elegance as one could muster whilst whispering. "And one might ask the same of you." Above their heads, framed in the square of light of his French doors, the man moved to kindle another lamp, and even more gaslight flared into the room. He was as illuminated as if he was a player on a stage now. How very helpful. Now she just had to get rid of the sudden new audience member.
"I'm smoking a cheroot. I'm the last to depart a dinner party at this very residence to which I was invited. It took place inside the house. I must say, however, that I'm unutterably touched that you care what I think."
"Oh, I don't," she hastened to disabuse, distractedly because the Duke of Greyfolk was choosing a book from a bookcase now. Which book? What does he read? "It's just that it's too difficult to keep lies in order, and I'm busy enough as it is. Now, if you would just leave me to my business, there's a good lad, Mr. Redmond, and good night." Jonathan Redmond exhaled smoke, politely away from her, toward the sky.
"You speak from experience."
"The lying," he said after a moment. They still spoke in hushes. She cast a glance his way. She resented every second her eyes weren't staring through the window. Inside, the Duke settled into a chair with a book and seemed to take his time burrowing in, finding just the right position for his buttocks. A new chair, or one that bore his imprint and he was just trying to wriggle into it properly. How she wanted to know the title of the book. "Naturally, everyone lies, even you, I'd warrant. Perhaps especially you, given your reputation, Mr. Redmond, and the company you keep. The reason I'm standing here is most assuredly not what you think, so you may save your innuendos for the next fashionable salon you choose to grace with your presence." He merely nodded along, as if everything she said followed a script. The rudeness was very unlike her, but one tended to revert to childhood defences when cornered. Above their heads, the Duke stood up, reached beneath them and gave his trousers a tug. They'd lodged between his buttock cheeks when he'd sat down. He resettled himself.
"You still haven't told me what your business here is, Mr. Ballesteros."
She turned toward him and straightened to her full height, which was, unfortunately, a foot or more less than his. She counted to 10 silently. She could feel her temper crawling up an internal thermometer. The temper was evidence of how accustomed she'd become to men vying to do her bidding. "Why are you tormenting me?" she asked, almost lightly.
"Why are you holding a knife?" he asked, mimicking her tone.
Shock blurred her vision. The ease had gone out of his posture. Suddenly she knew he was a man poised to spring if he needed to, and this was what he'd been leading up to all along. She cleared her throat. "Ah, this."
"Yes," he said softly. "That."
She remained silent. She idly tested the tip of the knife with her fingertip. Very sharp, perfectly deadly.
"Let me guess, it's not what I think."
"Think, Tommy, think." "I'm carrying a knife," she said slowly, "because I don't own a pistol." He nodded at this inanity thoughtfully.
"Oh, one should always carry a pistol. In fact, I'm carrying one now."
And so he was. There it was, gleaming in his hand. How had he done that? She stared at it. "It's a very fine pistol," she commented politely, thinking.